I'll take minutes next meeting.
Anything for Tim.
Careful what you offer. Right? Can you imagine if it was a free lunch?
Boy.
Recording in progress.
Thank you. I'll call to order this Active Grimsby Advisory Committee meeting on April 20th, 2022. We made it. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest? None seen. We can move on. Acceptance of the agenda. Any concerns about or changes to the agenda? Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? I've got John and I've got Bruce. Thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Moved. We're going right into business arising from the previous minutes. And what the plan is just to keep these items rolling on for every agenda until we've actually resolved the item to everyone's satisfaction. There may not always be a report, but at least we won't forget the items. So first of all, the safety measures that we put together. So these sort of over a few meetings, we were offering up safety suggestions from road situations to better routes bike routes through Grimsby. So staff asked us if we would kind of pull them together on a template, which we have done, and it basically identifies road and location, the issue, and the proposed solution. These were pretty well all put together by Dave, Bruce McKenzie, Anne, and Jimmy. So they've been assembled, and I sent everyone a copy. So at this point, it's really just to get any feedback or questions from staff, and maybe give us a little bit of a sense of how you would then use this information in any subsequent discussion with the region and in Grimsby's master transportation plan. I guess that's
Paul is
thank you.
Is to hand it over to our traffic expert Michael Palumbo, who's on the meeting with us.
Thank you, Mike.
No, thank you, through Chair. Yeah, so the list that you guys had sent over was good. I think the goal here would be to keep this as kind of a working document, and anytime we have any members of the committee have any additional things, we can add it to the list, and this will be a way to kind of go back and forth and make sure we can get that information to you. In terms of, where should I start? So in terms of the concerns related to regional roads, what we have done is we've reached out to the region now, and we've let them know that we have these, we have these concerns and things that are being discussed through our committee, and they have, they're more than willing to take a look at these, and they're going to provide comment and any sort of response to these specific items.
Right.
And in addition to that, we've also requested to have a member of their staff come to a committee meeting and provide a kind of I guess a short presentation or discussion as to some of their plans and goals or initiatives they have with regards to road safety and active transportation. So we've confirmed that they are going to do that. They're going to send a staff member. We just have to determine a suitable committee date, and we can have them out.
Great. Is there anything we individuals on our committee could sort of put forth in specific questions so that they're a little bit prepped and we don't blindside them?
Yeah,
I don't know what those questions would be, but just does that make sense?
No, that's a good point. I was gonna say that as well. In preparation for it, what we'll do is, well, we'll ask committee members to kind of pool some questions, and then we can ship them to the regional staff so they can prepare. So the goal, the idea would be that they would present their own kind of their own ideas and some of their own information, and then on top of that, answer some questions that come up through committee members.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, in terms of the other items on the list that relate to local, like to the town roads, the bike routes information is all good. The intent with that is we're going to keep that and use that as we work through our transportation master plan, as active transportation and connectivity is going to be a major focus on that. So that all this information will be included in that.
Great.
And so that's what we have planned for that. The other issues that were brought up were we had the QEW overpass connection. Again, that one is something that we are supportive of. It would just have to be reviewed through that the higher level plan of active transportation connections. In addition, because we're going over top of the QEW, the MTO would have to be circulated involved in those conversations, because it travels through their intersections. They'll want some say and some input on that end. North Service Road, Olive Street to Casablanca. That's an interesting one. It's a connection that staff have already identified as a potential cycling connection. So there has already been talks of how we can incorporate that into the network. Again, it's a more longer term plan, so it will be looked at in more detail as we work our way through the transportation master plan. And the last one on the list was the Lake Street. So this one here, I think you just need some clarification. So there is currently in that section there is no actual dedicated bike lanes. It's a share the road section. So on-street parking is technically allowed. If it was a dedicated bike lane, then there would be no parking because it is an actual travel lane. So in order for us to change that, we would have to create a bylaw amendment and actually remove parking on both. We would have to remove it on both sides of the street if we wanted to keep it clear. But it's not a dedicated bike lane. So I hope that answers or clarifies that issue.
I think that's
it. And the rest were related to the region, which we obviously we can't speak to. But we passed that information along, and we'll get comment from the region to report back.
Thank you, Mike. I guess we'll see if there's questions here or comments. Yeah. Bruce, I think I saw your hand go up earlier.
Yes, thanks, Chair Paul. Through you to Michael. Michael, you mentioned a minute ago about QEW overpass. Which one or which ones were you referring to?
Yep, so through you, Chair, that on overtop, it was identified the Casablanca, Christie, Ontario, and Maple. We're all identified in the document that we were sent. So when we go through our master plan process, all of those different types of connections will be considered. But I guess specifically for the Casablanca one, that'll be outside of our scope because that is being dealt with through the region with their Casablanca EA. If anybody is not aware of the proposed design for that, I'd recommend you can go onto their project page and you can actually see the design. But there will be a active transportation facility that crosses over top of the highway included in that.
Okay, thank you, Michael. And in your list of overpasses, you mentioned, I think you mentioned 3. Oaks Road wasn't mentioned. And what's the other one? Down by the, the Ontario Street? Is that a regional road or is that a town road?
That's town road.
Town road.
Yeah.
Chair Paul, I also have another question towards this, if I may.
Yes.
And this is to do with what Michael has suggested, or Marvin has suggested, that a staff person from the region may come. Now, a few months ago, I believe it was Marvin gave a good report on what he has been informed by the region in terms of capital improvements to Highway 8. And I'm hoping that when the region comes, that it would be nice to get a written sort of synopsis from the region of what they're planning to do along the east-west corridors that are regional roads ahead of the meeting, so that the members can study those and be up to date with them. And then I'm also looking forward to the region coming to say how they hope to address safety concerns along the length of Highway 8 or Main Street in a fashion that can be done before complete streets require, or their complete street program normally requires reconstruction of the street, which I believe from a budget and their priority list will take a very long time. So so my main request is that if the region is going to send a staff person, rather than providing us with a laundry list at the meeting of us trying to keep track of verbally, if that laundry list or their project list, I should say, is presented to the committee members ahead of time, so that we can, as I say, be familiar with what their projects are. It'd be easier for us to line up questions if we have that work ahead of time. I would also hope that the town could address the region and say that, or maybe this will happen after a regional staff person comes, and saying that continually the active committee talks about safety and on roads, and most of these concerns, I believe, are connected with regional roads. And I'm hoping that the town could ask the region, what are your plans? What can you do now, which isn't going to cost millions of dollars to improve the safety? And I know Vision Zero earlier fell on its face because it was coming with speed cameras and things like that. But as I've said before, there's a lot I think that can be done before streets have to be completely rebuilt. Thank you very much, Chair Paul.
Everybody okay with that? It makes sense if to the extent we can be prepared. The more we are prepared, then the better the meeting usually runs. So that'll be good. Any other questions, thoughts, input? Thank you. If I keep flashing around, I'm not sure what you're seeing. I've got a problem. My screen seems to be shorting out. It looks like I'm in trouble. So I'm sitting here propping up my computer so that I have a face in the screen. I don't know what was going on before, but here we go. Next item is the disc golf. I guess we were looking from Sarah to see if she had been in touch with the people from Prodigy at all, and was it possible that we could get some kind of implementation on this project this spring? It seemed like something that was a nice fit with the 100-year celebration, but it's kind of in the court of Parks and Rec. Is any input on that?
Yeah, through you, Paul, I can provide I guess some information that Sarah provided me, and hopefully I can relay it properly from her words to the committee here. But this is what she sent me. So in terms of disc golf, she did mention that there's more work to be done. I guess the use of the ball diamonds at Centennial Park is anticipated to be increasing this year, with, I guess that's to do with the Canada Summer Games. She said we're also preparing to undertake some work to further our understanding of the Indigenous history in the area. And she goes on to say that staff has done some testing of the course, and there are some concerns to do with potential conflicts with park visitors in the area. So she said this is something that we have to work through a little bit further, and to ensure that it's well thought out in terms of using the park space. So she does finish by saying, we're still interested in bringing disc golf forward, so it's still important and a priority, obviously for the committee and for the town. But it's just that there needs to be some additional work. So I think it's a work in progress. So I think there's a few hurdles that we have to jump over, but perhaps between now and the next meeting, we can get a little bit more information and maybe work through some of those.
Okay. Jimmy?
Is there a way for us to get a list of what the issues are, like a written list, so that it's not vague to us? Yeah, specifically things like we could help with, or things that we could work on. Like, does there need to be more legs on the ground? Do you need more trial runs? Like anything that like we can actually do something?
That's a great question, and I'll relay this back to Sarah, and I'm pretty sure she'll be able to provide some more details between now and in the next meeting too, so that you have that.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, and the other question I had, I couldn't remember if the funding was already, like if that part was already decided. I believe the funding got put into the budget.
Yeah, and I apologize. I don't know the answer to that, but I do believe that there is funding available this year to support this. So, but I'll look to Sarah to confirm that. So I've made a note to ask her to confirm that as well.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. Any other questions, thoughts? Thank you. What do we got next? Yeah, the bike friendly. I mean, last we have said the fall submission seems to be reasonable. Any changes on that at all? I guess, Jimmy, we're okay. Oh, good. I don't anything else on the that issue.
David has his hand up.
Oh, does he? Oh, there it is, David.
Yeah, I would just say that we kind of split up the questionnaire into three parts. And Anne was doing the educational stuff. I was doing the engineering stuff. And Jimmy, you were doing, remind me, Jimmy, what part you were taking on was, I think promotional, right? Anyways, on my part, I had put together a number of questions for the engineering folks at the town that I needed to fill in my part of the questionnaire. And I haven't received anything back. So in terms of me moving forward on the engineering part of the questionnaire, I think when we talked before, we discussed that even though the timeline had moved forward to the fall, that we would continue to work away at this.
Right.
So, any feedback I could get in terms of how that's progressing. I know I sent an email to Marvin with a list of questions. A lot of the terminology I'm not really familiar with. There's a lot of stuff about whether we have certain procedures or practices in place. So I'd just be looking for some feedback on that stuff so that I can populate my part of the questionnaire. Anyway, thanks, Paul.
Thank you. Good. Any questions, concerns on that? You're okay with that, Marvin?
Yeah, and through you to David, I apologize, David. I'm wondering if I could ask if you could send that again. I just want to make sure that that I have it, and then I'll make sure I follow up on that. So I do apologize because I have no doubt that you sent it. I must have overlooked it.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Neighborhood walks. Well, again, we were sort of left with Parks and Rec on that. The main issue, well, the opportunity is that Bruce McKenzie has offered to lead two or three guided walks that would probably go over well with and out of the guided walks we could get feedback from participants in terms of how they feel about structured walks and some walks that the town put together for them. The issue was we were going to try and run those at the venue, one or two of them this year. I will need some feedback, I guess, from Parks and Rec in terms of what venues might be forthcoming and some dates. What we're looking for is as much lead time as possible. That's probably a fair thing to say to Bruce. If you've offered to lead them, you'd like some lead time to be ready for that. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair Paul. What I can do is email yourself and Sarah possible dates that will work with me. The three areas that I spoke about were Grimsby Wetlands, Grimsby Beach, and Beamer. Both of those areas are freely open to the public and don't conflict with any parks and recreational schedules. So I'll email some windows of time to you, and then see where the Parks Department may wish to align activities with their activities, and also how they wish to market this, because the only restriction I see really from my end is having a pre-registration so that the numbers of people who might attend are limited to what I'm comfortable with. And also with the pre-registration, in the event of, say, a rain event or something, that I or the town staff can communicate with those registered for a rain date.
Great. Yeah, I think Sarah's intention was to do align one of these walks with an existing event and kind of tie it into the whole 100-year celebration for the town. So to make it part of a whole. Marvin, oh, yeah. I thought I saw a hand.
Yeah. I can chime in when you're finished. Sorry, Paul.
Good. That's it. I'm done.
Okay. Yeah. I did want to share some information that Sarah did pass along to me for tonight, if I could. So she said that staff have received a small grant through Participation to deliver some community walk events, and she says I think I can wave the walk work, or I guess weave the walk work into the program potentially. So that's good to hear. So she said these are aimed to occur during the month of June, and we're also working with the museum and potentially other partners on this as well. So she said staff will be reaching out to Paul, yourself, and Bruce to explore some possibilities. So it's on the radar, and I expect you'll hear from her shortly.
Thank you very much. That's good for you, Bruce.
Yeah. Yes. Look forward to hearing from Sarah.
Great.
Haven't been able to touch base with her for a while.
No. Good. All right. Vision Zero. I guess the only question is there anything new coming out of that? It sounds like a good concept, as Bruce said earlier. Maybe it came in too strong with just with radar and speed catching speeders, but the whole package itself seems to be a great opportunity to put together a region-wide and countrywide in a sense, because this thing is bigger than just Niagara. A concept of safety as a sort of a cultural kind of culture of safety, if you will. So it seems there's a lot of stuff in there that would be a an opportunity, so long as it works well with the relationship of Grimsby and the region. So anything new that you've heard from the region on that? Maybe, yes, Alderman Ritchie.
Thank you, Paul. So I haven't heard anything from the region, but I did want to say that staff brought a great report to the committee of the whole the other night for in-road flexible signage pilot program. So what this does is that there'll be a sign that's in the middle of the road. It's a flexible sign so that, some vehicles, you could actually run them over. And there's two signs on either side that help when people look down the road, they see like the road almost becomes narrowing, so they slow down. So they've selected 6 locations for this pilot project: Baker Road South, Central Avenue, Kerman Avenue, Nels Road South, Roberts Road, and Winston Road. So this is going to happen soon. I believe that it still has to pass council, but it was unanimously supported. It also says that in the report, it should be noted that although we were unable to ensure that the selected locations were distributed among all 4 town wards, alternative traffic safety initiatives in Ward 3 are planned to be carried out in conjunction with this pilot program. So I'm not sure exactly what that is, but these are all things that help complement Vision Zero, and glad to see that that we're moving forward on some things.
Philip?
Yeah, through you, Paul Chair. Alderman Ritchie, this sounds like a great idea. Can you tell me more about these? So there are 6 in the pilot project. Are these movable? So as the town progresses, they can move them to different locations? And was this something that the town had to purchase? And what's the longevity of these signage, I guess?
Yeah, through the chair. So these are movable. They can be moved throughout the town. Their total cost for this pilot project is around $7,900 in the report here. And I do believe that, so one of the main components with this, in reading the report from staff, is that they're going to be looking for resident feedback as well, to see if it's, so they're going to engage the community, find out what the community thinks of them. And if it works, it's positive, then you can expand on the program. So you can also, as an example, expansion could be painting lines differently around that area. I didn't want to talk about it at the council meeting, but you could also do like portable speed bumps, so forth like that. But they have a lot of these in the city of Burlington. Yeah. I think they're very successful. Every time when I'm driving around in the fire truck, everybody slows down at these locations. There is some complaints that come with them, but again, let's see what the community feedback is. And I think this is a great step to initiate the residents, get their feedback, and move forward on some Vision Zero initiatives.
Yeah, sounds like a great start. Any other questions or thoughts on that? Bruce?
Thanks, Chair Paul. I'm very pleased to see this initiative get started in Grimsby. I would, with all the discussion that we've had about soft infrastructure and things like that, I would have thought that this might have been mentioned at one of our meetings previously, just to let us know what the town's working on. But having said that, I hope that this is very successful and is a start in the right direction for the transportation master plan that I understand the town is working on for 2023. And through you, I'll ask Marvin if this is the type of thing that we can hope or expect to see more of in that in the upcoming transportation master plan?
Yes, Marvin? Yep.
Some great questions, Bruce, and I'll turn it over maybe to Michael if the committee can indulge us for a minute. But I did want to say that I do believe it is a great program that we're going to be piloting. And in terms of sharing it, it is fairly fresh out of the oven. So we just went to council, I guess, committee of the whole with it on Monday. So we wanted to obviously make sure we had council support to move forward with it, and I think it still has to go through council, but I think based on Monday, I think we do have it, so that's great, and now we'll be able to move forward with it, starting I think probably in May. So what I'll do is maybe I'll give a quick tour through Michael, who's on the call. He's put this together, and he'll be the lead moving forward. So maybe he could just share a little bit with the committee on what this looks like and what to expect in the future.
Thanks, Marvin. Through you, Paul. We put an item on the agenda for tonight that was for us to provide an update. So
yes,
I figure why don't we continue on through the last item, and then once we get to that portion, I'll elaborate a little bit more on this.
That sounds good to me. Yeah, I see. Yes, I see it here. Public Works Transportation discussion. So that's what you're talking about. Well, I'm sure we're all okay with that. That's good. The last item on our business arising was the downtown reimagined. That seems like a good thing to keep rolling along and see how that progresses. I don't know of anything new that's happened since the last meeting. Jimmy, you were the contact there. Do you know of anything else that we should know about?
Sorry, I was just reading something on the side. Could you say that again, please, Paul? I apologize.
Just on the downtown reimagined, I'm just going to keep it rolling along for the meetings, and to the extent you hear anything new, if you'd feed it to us at a meeting, that'd be great. And is there anything new from the last time you went to a meeting?
Nothing new to report.
Okay. That's it. We're good. We're on to the item Public Works Transportation discussion. Back to you, Mike.
Oh, thank you, Chair. Through you. So to continue on with the pilot program that we set up for this year. So the idea behind this is that we want to test some of these products that are currently available. So the idea for this would be that we selected these locations specifically for specific reason, and that these traffic calming devices will be in place there for the duration of the pilot, and we will be able to measure the effectiveness of it, at the beginning and at the end, and that way at the end, when we take them down, we'll be able to kind of review and see, is this something that's worth pursuing more, or do we need to go in a different direction? So yes, they are movable, but for purposes of this program, they'll remain in these 6 locations for the duration. The idea is that they're going to kind of create like a lane narrowing effect. So when you come on, it'll be a flexible sign in the center with flexible bollards that flank the sign to kind of shrink the lanes down and create a kind of a visual marker for people coming up and down the road. We're, like Councillor Ritchie stated, we are going to be doing some public engagement throughout the process of this. We're going to be collecting data to kind of measure the effectiveness of it and see kind of just how people feel about it. We hear a lot of people want speed humps, but there could be just as many people out there who say don't put them up, right? So before we go and spend the money and go through all the effort of implementing things just to have them taken out later on, we want to make sure that this is the right way to go. Is there any other, actually, I guess I'll leave it there. Is there any other questions with regards to this program, or anything else anyone wants to add?
Go ahead, Phil.
Through you, Paul Chair. I missed that, Michael. When does it start, and how long is the program going to last for?
Sure. Through you, Chair. We're anticipating it to start in May, and it'll run all the way through till the fall, basically before we have to start winter maintenance. So they will be up for the majority of spring and summer. And in addition to that, if anybody is interested, they feel free to go and you can actually read the council report that was put together. And within that, there's actually there's an example of what it will look like when it's implemented.
Okay. Any other? Jimmy?
What's the desired output of the test? Like, are you specifically trying to get like a gauge of community response, or is there like some other measurable that would tell us whether we can and should do more of this kind of thing?
Sure. Through you, Chair. The ultimate goal is a couple of things. One is to see if they actually do calm traffic, and we'll measure that through the data we collect. The other portion of it is to have public support. If this is something that the residents in the area, specifically in the area, are really opposed to, and it's really going to cause a lot of issue, and it's not actually that effective in calming traffic, then it might not be something that we carry on with, because this is a proactive measure. It's not a reactive measure. So if there is some effectiveness and it is very popular, then that would make a strong case for us continuing on with this and similar types of programs.
Is calming a quantifiable vector, or is it more of like a qualitative assessment?
Well, it is quantifiable in that we can measure the overall speeds of the traffic volume on the road.
I see. So you're going to incorporate some kind of like road sensors or strips as well.
Yes. Yeah. So we will collect some data through the use of radar traffic collectors, and we can actually measure to see what vehicles are doing in the specific areas.
Cool. In terms of support, does our committee saying anything like help at all? Like if we, made one of those official sounding statements that say, "Hey, we really like this, and this is a great idea, rah rah," does that count as support, community support?
I guess it would count, yeah, and it would be taken into account as we move through the project, and we're collecting all that. Any feedback is helpful. So whether it comes from this committee or a member of the public, everything's useful.
Cool.
Mike, is there any experience with these in the region and any of the other municipalities, or I think Hamilton has? I'm sure I've seen this kind of thing in Hamilton, but
sure. Through you, Chair. These are not. It's not new. Like it's not new technology, but the widespread use of it on local roads is something that's newer within the last 5 years or so. So the larger municipalities, City of Toronto, City of London, they've been implementing this type of signage. Maybe not necessarily the way we're doing it with supplemental bollards, but the flexible in-road signs have been used by a lot of large municipalities in the Niagara region. I'm not aware of if there's any other municipalities that are making use of them, or I don't believe that there's anybody who's doing a pilot program like this, but they are. This is something that's being done in the province.
Yeah, I actually saw the town of West Lincoln had this when they converted a through street to a four-way stop, and they needed to kind of like, encourage drivers to visually clue into the change, and so they added the bollards on the thoroughfare in the center to kind of like give this like really strong visual, like, hey, this intersection has significantly changed.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I think that's great. Good news. Bruce.
Yes, Chair, through you to Michael. Michael, in your selection of the bollards were what I think are called speed indicator lights considered for traffic calming in certain areas. There used to be one on Hunter Road. I'm not sure where Grimsby may have used them in other locations. Could you talk about that technology or possible use in Grimsby?
Yeah, through you, Chair. That was actually the next portion of the conversation that I was going to have for the pilot project. It wasn't considered for the project because we're just looking at the effects of the sign and bollards. But the other things I wanted to bring up in the meeting today was just to discuss some of the other things that the town does already that people may not be aware of. I know that there's been a lot of discussion in this group over the last little bit about things that we can do, and this is more for your information to kind of let everybody know what we do on kind of a day-to-day basis and from year to year, and some of the things that we have going on. So radar boards is something that the town does have. We use them on a rotational basis where we put them out in either locations where we do have concerns with speeding or unsafe driving behavior, or where we get requests from residents. We typically put them out for a week to 2 weeks at a time, and then move them around from location to location. Up until last year, we had 2. This year, we've doubled that, and we've now have 4 that we are going to be deploying and kind of including in our circulation. This is something that we're really, really excited about, that we were able to kind of add those additional boards in there to kind of cover more and have these things out there, and people can see them, and people can they know that we're taking these concerns into consideration and that we're trying to do something about it, right? So that is going on, and those boards will be starting to get deployed in the spring, probably in May as well. So keep your eyes open. They will be around. We'll be making sure they go, get around in every single ward. Again, though, they're not permanent; they're temporary, so they'll be there roughly 1 to 2 weeks. Is there any questions about radar boards specifically?
Well, I have 1 or 2 follow-ups to that through you, Chair Paul, to Michael. You mentioned about these being put up in May. Are they not being, the 2 that the town has now, are they being used now?
Through you, Chair. So we actually just had them retrofitted this year, so we could have remote capability. So they were not in circulation in the winter. We sent them back to our supplier to have them basically like a cell modem installed in them, so that way we can connect to them remotely.
Okay.
Yeah. Typically, though, in the wintertime, the use of them is slowed down, mainly because of the logistics of installing them. we typically, when we install them, we will install them on a post that's put in the ground. And in order for us to do that, the ground has to be thawed. In the wintertime when it's frozen, it's very difficult to do that. So unless we're able to mount them up on a pole or a post, it's hard to get them out in the cold weather. But so that's why you'd most likely see more of them in as we get into the warmer weather.
Okay, I would comment that I don't know what the relationships are with utilities, Grimsby Power, the telephone poles. As I drive along the streets, I see a lot of poles, and this is a surprise to me that there's a difficulty putting poles into the ground in the winter, and or using established poles. And once a pole is established, I would kind of think that it would be left there, even though the machinery might be taken off it, so that you could come back and use it again. Because the pole, if you're using a wooden 6x6 or something, it's probably cheaper to leave it in the ground than to move it and put it in another spot. My last question is, has there been communication with the regional police and the town of Grimsby to coordinate as to where these speed indicator or radar boards would be best installed?
Yep. So through you, Chair, that's another point that we were going to get to. That is something that we do on a biannual basis now. We have regular contact with the police. So we just actually recently, this past week, met with the staff sergeant for the NRP, and through those meetings we go over any sort of ongoing issues, requests that they have of the town, requests that we have of the NRP, and we now have a working relationship where we share data, and we're able to kind of better attack some of the areas that are, say, problematic, or where we get the highest density of complaints coming from. So that is something that we currently do.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thanks for this, Mike. That's pretty complete. Nice to hear. Yes.
Oh, sorry. I just, through you, Chair, I just a couple more tidbits of information for everybody, in case anyone's wondering. So in addition to the work we do with radar boards, we also do we do yearly data collection as well. So we have an annual count program where we hire a contractor who goes out and they collect traffic data for us. We collect everything, speed, vehicle classification, volume. We count intersections. We collect video data as well, so that way we can review compliance at intersections and near misses, and whenever we do safety analysis. We've also recently purchased a new traffic engineering software, where we are now able to streamline our analysis process, so that way we can just upload data directly into the program, and we can do all sorts of safety analysis and house all of our traffic data and collision data. We do monitor collisions in town as well. So every year on a routine basis, we have collision data that's delivered to us specifically for Grimsby, and all of that is reviewed and analyzed as well. In addition to the two radar boards that we purchased this year, the town also purchased another traffic data collection device. It's called an armadillo. It's a radar collector. It's non-intrusive. So we are able to kind of put it out onto streets so drivers don't notice it at all. It's very small. It's something that we can use now to do spot speed checks when we get requests for review from residents, or if we have to do any sort of internal internal studies, we now have the ability to go out and collect any of this data kind of on an as needed basis. And I believe that was everything I wanted to share, but I just kind of wanted to let everybody know kind of the things that we do, and that way, if anyone has questions or if they were wondering any of this information, hopefully this kind of gives everybody a good idea of what's going on.
Great. Philip.
Through you, Paul. Michael, you mentioned something that tweaked my interest, and that had to do with the data collection. And I think this is vital as Grimsby continues to grow and expand. How far back do you maintain this data, and how often do you look at how things are changing and progressing versus, say, what we were last year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years ago? Can you give me a better sense of how all of that is interpreted?
Sure. Through you, Chair. So we'll keep all the records that we collect. We don't discard anything after a certain time period. So we do have the ability to go back 10, 15, 20 years as long as the data is available. With the count program we have now, it's a fairly new program that we just kind of implemented about 5 years ago. So we're now just starting to kind of see the benefits of doing that routine data collection that covers kind of the entire town. And as we collect it and as we start moving from year to year, we're able to not only look at patterns of growth, but we can look at kind of, we can look at speed patterns. We can see where heavy vehicles are going. If the cycling, like how many cyclists are out there, we can actually see if we're getting an increase during, say, as we move into the spring. Is there an increase, or on year to year, are we getting more people out on their bikes and less in their cars? So we look at that, and we also use it when we have to do any sort of operational analysis of, say, intersections. So when we have, if we know that there is an increase in volume in certain areas, we are able to actually then go back and look at intersections within the area to make sure that they're operating functionally, or if, say, they needed to, for example, volumes going up, do we need a signal? We can now have the ability to look at that and make those determinations.
Thank you.
Jimmy.
So can I infer that we'll be able to influence public policy by spamming the sensors, just like repeatedly running my bicycle over it all day? Like, that's worth 24 hours of my time. I'll do it.
Well, it'll pick it up.
Yeah, it's going to be a spike that gets like chopped off as like a outlier or like bad signal or something.
On that note, any other questions? Good. Thank you. That's great. That's really helpful. I have to put a resolution that we received reports on everything under business arising from the previous minutes. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Just anybody. Thank you, Jimmy. and Bruce. Jimmy, Bruce. All in favor? Yes. Thank you. The next item, new business. Is there anyone have anything to bring up under the new business? Marvin?
Yeah, if I could, Paul, I just wanted to share a couple other points that Sarah put together and asked if I could pass along to the committee. So there's actually four, and they won't take that long. So the first one is an update on the recreational master trails plan. So she says, we are releasing the second round of community engagement very soon. We will not be hosting open houses and workshops and delivering presentations at meetings for this, as we find we're getting better feedback through targeting individual responses. We are preparing a video overview of where we have gotten to and then there will be digital tools to provide feedback. So that project is ongoing, and just wanted to provide an update to the committee on that. Number 2 is just quickly on the Casablanca Beach Park. Within the next month, we plan to share further updates as we are nearing steps to move forwards towards tendering and moving into construction. So getting pretty excited about that project, and actually seeing some shovels digging dirt and trees getting put in and so on later this year. The third item is just pickleball. Just quickly, for any of the committee that might be interested in pickleball, the project is on track and is slated to be completed in June. So if you do play, get those rackets ready. It won't be too long. And then finally, and this is interesting to me too, I wasn't aware of this. It's called Goose Chase, and maybe some of the members are familiar with it. The Grimsby 100 Goose Chase is now live. So she says, to celebrate Grimsby's centennial year, we've put together a Goose Chase game all about Grimsby's history, and invite you to join in on the fun. So Goose Chase is a smartphone app that lets players compete for prizes by completing scavenger hunt missions and challenges. So join the Grimsby 100 Goose Chase to play, compete, and learn all about Grimsby's past, present, and future. So that sounds really cool, and tying it to the Grimsby 100. She provides the code to join, which we can certainly share and put it in the minutes if you like. Top teams will participate in a raffle for 3 Grimsby 100 prize packs, so that's exciting. And so this is a fun way to get involved with the community. And then we're happy to hear ideas for challenges from the committee members. So if any of the committee members have ideas for some challenges as part of this Goose Chase, then please share those with Sarah. And then finally, there's just a note, Chair Paul, to the committee, that she's suggesting some further conversation be had in May, perhaps at the May meeting. And I guess this is kind of a question from her to the committee to consider is, do we attend a farmer's market in June, promoting safe cycling or other things, and give out those reflective bracelets? So it's just a question that she is putting out to the committee that perhaps could be consideration and maybe put on the agenda for the May meeting.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be good to put on the agenda. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So that was, I think that was all the items that she had asked that I share. And certainly if there's any questions on those, I can take a stab at them, but I think probably Sarah would be the best one to answer any detailed questions on those.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Marvin on that? Good. Thank you. We'll save them for Sarah then. Thank you. Just under new business, I guess, Marvin. Nice shiny bridge over at the 40 Mile Creek. Any idea when it'll be open to the public?
Yeah. Paul, that's a great question, and I should have put that as a note to share with the committee, because I'm sure everybody's anxious to give it a
Test
walk.
drive it. Yeah.
Essentially, we're waiting for the asphalt plants to open. So once the asphalt plants open, then they can I guess complete the approaches to and from the bridge. Like right now, you'd end up tripping, which we don't want, of course. So once the asphalt plants open, they'll finish the approaches on either side, and then it'll open up. So I'm going to anticipate probably early May that we should be very close to having that ready to use. So
nice.
And hopefully that's the case. It's tough. It's almost like a shiny new car that you can't drive. So
yeah.
So it's coming very, very soon.
Yeah, it's a nice, healthy looking bridge, isn't it? How wide is that? Is that 5 or 6 feet wide? No?
Gosh, I don't know the answer to that.
Certainly wider than the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess. Yeah. I don't know the answer to that, but I think it might be a little bit bigger than the old one.
For sure.
And hopefully we'll get get a long life out of it.
Yeah, I think so.
I think we will.
Very good. Any other new business items? No, we'll move along. Next meeting, it looks like another optimistic maybe that we'll meet face to face. I guess we'll just have to see how COVID unfolds. With that said, we can adjourn the meeting. Thank you all. I know.
Hey.
Hey, John.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.